Thanks for joining us again here at Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. We're back with our NFL Week 15 review. What a week it was. Another Game of the Year contender in Bills-Lions, which we'll get into in detail. Lamar and the Ravens balled out against the Giants. Just everything went on. Some of the doors were closed on potential playoff hopes, certainly in the AFC, so we'll get into that as well. But to help me delve into all the NFL action, I'm, of course, joined by Joe and Byron. Gentlemen, how are you doing? How was your Week 15?
Yeah, it was, as we predicted, a great second half of Sunday. Sunday Night Football, a bit of a dud compared to what I was expecting, certainly. Gino and the boys didn't quite come through. But I mean, Gino got injured, so it's not Gino's fault. Let's get that on the record early.
Early on, yeah.
But no, it's a good week. Week 15. Like you said, it's kind of sad so much is getting locked up so early. I mean, credit to teams that are doing it, obviously. But, we want Week 18 to be live and wild. I feel like last year might have been similar as well, where like Week 18 was a bit dudish. So, yeah, not the greatest, but...
Yeah, I think I'm quite confident saying I think we've got 12 of the 14 teams that will be in the playoffs done. I still think we've got our NFC West to decide and our NFC South to decide. And while there's still, under the odd division up for grabs, particularly the AFC North with Steelers, Ravens, I think we're pretty set in terms of the teams that are going to be in the postseason. Yeah. And that was definitely done this week. We had the opportunity for chaos in the NFC wild card. But the first game we will talk about led to kind of that door probably closing. Mm-hmm. And similarly, late on, kind of really Colts and Dolphins needed to win to really put the pressure on the Chargers, and that didn't happen. Yeah. We're going to go through the four games, four of the best games or most important games of this slate. And we're then going to go for our 4-4 challenge. So close again. Can't remember how many times I've gone 3-1. And go off the rest of the ATS picks, cover the rest of the games, and shout out the Fantasy Gameday winner. But we're going to start in New Orleans. Jaden Daniels was making his return to Louisiana. As I said, LSU Heisman Trophy winner, going back, and the Commanders were cruising against the Saints before Spencer Rattler was the spark, and the Saints nearly stole one. And what do we make of this one? Kind of very much the old football adage, game of two halves.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's it exactly. Jake here now, I think we can put that experiment to bed. This is his second year in the league, and he takes a great headshot. I'm not sure if you've seen Jake Haener's modeling profile work. I'm not sure exactly what you'd call it. When he was as a rookie, he got his Saints pictures done. But in terms of playing quarterback in the NFL, he's not exactly picture perfect, is he? 4 of 10, 49 yards and an interception. Didn't get anybody going, really.
It was very much like a deer in the headlights. It looked like a deer in the headlights, like that moment of like, what the fuck am I doing here sort of thing. It was just...
Yeah. Looked more like he belonged on the catwalk than the backfield. Cedric Wilson getting in there with a touchdown pass, which, again, when you're getting Cedric Wilson top front, you're starting quarterback, not ideal by any means. But yeah, Rattler comes in and he slings the ball. I think we've seen him already this season. I think Rattler's probably not an NFL quarterback, but he's above like the Tommy DeVito level, I would dare say, at this point of his career. So, you've got to go with somebody when Derek Carr's out. I think all this stuff kind of highlights how good Derek Carr really is, though. He is a bit of a punching bag, etc., but he throws a really good deep ball. And for the most part, he's a competent professional quarterback who keeps the team ticking over. Rattler came in and obviously closed the game well. But credit to Washington, they did see it out. Jaden Daniels very efficient, 66 yards on the ground, 25-30 passing, 2 touchdowns. Exactly what Washington needed, I think. Obviously, they'd rather not have it become close towards the end. Not helped by the referees not knowing when they should and shouldn't stop the clock.
Yeah, I mean, if you end up losing that game, because really, when you I didn't notice it, to be fair. We were watching the game, me and Jenny were watching the game, being the Saints. We had it on one of the screens. And yeah, I didn't really notice it, to be fair, because kind of just the chaos of...
I did it in real time.
But yeah, you kind of understand it, because really, probably the Saints don't get that touchdown realistically, do they? Probably, given, that situation. So yeah, I mean, if you are the Commanders and all of a sudden you're 8-6 weeks, potentially having lost that game. With all of a sudden the NFC West teams.
And that would have given you 4 out of 5 losses as well, where like the season started so well. Whereas now I think this just gives them that one win that just like keeps them just right on track to, to secure the playoff spot. Obviously not secured yet, but they've got the Falcons and the Cowboys to come. They've got the Eagles next. You feel a lot more confident having that win under the belt than if they didn't.
Yeah, I think they just need one at this point. I think one will do it. But I thought the first half they were really, really good. The Commanders, I thought they played really, really well. McLaurin could have had 5 touchdowns in this game. Like, they were so close. I think Daniels underthrew him, just overthrew him a little, and there was another one, and you could have had. They were the 3 targets that McLaurin didn't catch.
Yeah,
and he could have been on 5 touchdown day, and it could have been very, very different. But like Spencer Rattler was a spark. The one thing you can do is move the ball down the field. Like, say whether he's got a long-term future in the NFL, I don't know, but he can move the ball down the field. He's competent enough to do that. He was that spark. Cedric Wilson, I missed that. That's one thing kind of we've seen Cedric Wilson do it at Dallas and do it in Miami. Great to see, and Kamara with a great grab. And just kind of he's just having a great season, Kamara. It might be at an end now because he was picked up an injury, which would be sad because I think that would stop him getting his 1,000 yards, which he hasn't had as a rusher. But it started a few weeks ago, but he's the only player in the league to be leading his team in both receiving and rushing yards. It's quite an incredible stat, and he joined a select few. I think he's the 4th to have 50 or more rushing touchdowns, 25 or more receiving touchdowns. So, it's coming to an end, but what a great career for Kamara, and what a great saint as well.
Absolutely. I'm not sure his Vegas friends would agree with him being a total saint, but great New Orleans Saint player.
Absolutely. Look, and what do you make a call last bit of this game? I love the call from Rizzy to go for it then. There's no point kicking that.
100%.
Okay, let me just say that. I was on the over on this game, so I hated the call. But I love the call from a coach perspective. Like, what's the point of taking this game to overtime?
And we say it all the time. If you're an underdog and you get a chance to win it on a one play, take it.
Absolutely.
It's not always going to work, but that's why you take the chance.
And you know what? They dialed up a really good play, moved the pocket, got Rattler moving. And I think I don't think you can make the throw any better, to be fair, to Juwan Johnson. It was there to be caught. It was great. And this is like a good loss. Like, you take the loss,
benefit your draft capital.
Yeah, exactly. So I think a good loss for the Saints. I'm worried about the Commanders. I thought they should have blitzed the Saints here and really should have beat them. They really struggled running outside. Take Jaden Daniels out of it. They really struggled running the ball. And I don't think that's a good place to be heading into the postseason.
No, of course, yeah. I mean, we keep on talking ourselves about Brian Robinson every week in terms of like getting him in our Fantasy Gameday Line because the workload will be there. 21 of 65 or 21 for 65, no touchdowns, not hugely efficient, nothing too much. I mean, 3 passes I think he caught. Not terrible by any means, but it's just not. You look at what some running backs are getting going on, I would dare say, lesser offenses. You not quite get. I think they're missing Austin Eckler to balance that workload. But it doesn't bode well for January, certainly. And I did just want to shout out, sorry, Joe, my own failings. When you mentioned Terry McLaurin having 8, well, not 8. He missed a few catches that were all long touchdowns. I bet him as a receiving leader of the day at 2,200. And, I mean, he only got 73 yards, so I'm not saying it was a close run thing, but if he catches 2 of those, it really is a close run thing. It was super annoying watching them as like...
Was it Devontae?
It was Devontae, yeah. So I posted in the chat like before the day of like, before I went live of like, I've went Terry McLaurin, but like I'm really regretting not going to Monra. And then Devontae Adams went 198. Monra went 193. So I'd have been even more furious if I'd gone to Monra. But Terry McLaurin only ended up with like 75. I think it was 73. But if he'd got 2 of those long bombs, I would have been very much sweating the early games. But miles off it as it turns out. Just shows how close these things can be sometimes, even if you don't hit.
Absolutely. It was a fair shout. Joe?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like in the grand scheme of things with this Commanders team, you've just got to try and take the positives as a whole season. Like no one expected them to be this good, and especially with the team they had, and with a new head coach, a rookie quarterback to get to the playoffs. It's a great season, and I think it's disappointing just because how the start of the year, but it might have been the schedule, and when it comes down to like the cream rises to the top, and it feels like in both sides of the playoffs, there's like two or three great teams, and the rest are like, oh, they've done well to get to the playoffs. And I feel like that's going to be the Commanders this year. So, like I said, they just need one more win because the Seahawks and Rams have got to play each other. So that's one of them having a loss. So, one more win, and they should be there. But it would have made it interesting if they lost. Teams like the Cowboys and a few others would have been sniffing around, and their hopes would have perked up for another week. But that just feels like it's settled them, and see where they go. But I think, like I said, no one's really expecting them to go that far in the playoffs. So to get there, you've got to give hats off to Dan Quinn and Jane Daniels.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be in that 7th seed as it stands, likely playing the Eagles unless things change. With the Lions and Vikings down the road as well. They really missed Tyler Badash yesterday, I think, at centre, and that was part of the problem why they couldn't really run on the ground. And I think he was out with an illness, so he'll likely be back. It's not an injury. Commanders 9-5 for the first time since 1992.
Wow. And they gave up, I think, 8 sacks yesterday, which
I
know Jade Daniels scrambling leads itself to more sacks than you might like, and also as a rookie, but again, doesn't lend itself to January football.
It's not the things you're wanting to kind of get into the habit of heading into the postseason. Commanders, Eagles next, as you mentioned. Saints are on Monday Night Football next against the Packers. Big underdogs heading to Green Bay. We're going to just jump into the late slate. That was kind of the one early game to talk about in more details, more because of the ending. Heading into the late slate, we're going to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was real impressed with this performance from Tampa, going on the road to the Chargers. Chargers who've been, I think, giving up 15 points a game on average this season. Defensively been really strong, and then the Bucs dropped 40 on them. The Bucs won 40-17 to go 8-6. As yet, the Falcons haven't played, but obviously strengthening their hold on the NFC South. And this was tight up until kind of midway through the third quarter, and then the Bucs just completely took over, 27 unanswered points.
Yeah, I'm not even too sure what happened to the Chargers. I didn't have a close eye on this game, obviously with the other games being so huge in the late window. But, I mean, Mike Evans gets it done again. Bucky Irvin, who, I mean, we called it a good few weeks ago now as like being a potential fantasy league winner down the stretch, just continues. No touchdowns, but 117 yards on the ground. Rashad White got in for a touchdown as well through the air. Baker Mayfield has been a little more inconsistent this year than last, I think. But when he gets going, he's been so good this year. And, Sunday was just a real good example of it. Like you said, the Chargers are number 1 point defense in the league going into Sunday. I presume they still are despite this. But, you put 40 points up on them. That's, going across country. I know the Chargers' home ground isn't exactly a daunting stadium to go to. But, you've still got to go across country and do it. And I just think huge credit to Baker Mayfield, to Liam Cohen, Todd Bowles, obviously, as well. But they've just got this offense ticking, despite, Chris Godwin obviously being out 156 for Mike Evans, was it?
59.
159
for Mike Evans. So he's well on track to get his 1,000.
We're down to, I think, 82 yards a game we're down to now.
Over the next pretty much doubled it today. So, yeah. And I can't remember the exact fixtures off the top of my head. You can fill me in maybe, but they have a really nice schedule the rest of the season, basically. So I fully expect him to get it.
I want to say Saints, Panthers, Cowboys.
In reverse order. We've just said the Cowboys, Panthers, Saints.
Sunday Night Football, because we get Cowboys in prime time. One more time, Byron. But I think it was so. The spark was that the first huge touchdown pass to Mike Evans. Kind of just, not long after halftime, that 57-yarder down the sideline, Baker drawing up in the dirt a little bit, escaping to his left and finding Mike Evans free. And then that sparked it because you had off the back of that Chargers punted it quite quickly. Buckhaven had that massive run that led to another field goal. And then you had Justin Herbert's first interception straight away. First interception since September. So it's only 2 for the season. And then that led to the second big Mike Evans touchdown pass. So, yeah, all of a sudden in the space of kind of 5 minutes, it had gone from the Chargers leading by 4 to the Bucks up by 13 real quickly. And yeah, it just fell away from there.
And I think this, like what I just said about the Commanders, we probably could say the same thing for the Chargers now. It looks like they should get that playoff spot, but they've done well to do that. Like, again, we're coming into the year, none of us, I don't think any of us predicted it. We thought they might be competitive, but Harbaugh's done a great job. And yeah, they weren't really going to do much without, when you just, when it comes down to that wide receiver room, it's just not good enough. I know Lad McConkey's had a great first year, but he feels like every game he's coming in hurt or gets hurt, so you can't just rely on that all the time. And their running game has seemed to have like disappeared since Dobbins has gone, and they can't do anything. And they finally got this Buccaneers team can do that. It feels like when you think about it in the season, they did it to the Eagles and they did it to the Lions. So I think going into the playoffs, you'll probably be feeling stronger about the Bucs and the Chargers, who just feel like they've lost something. Herbert got hit another 10 times. I think he looks injured, or he certainly looks hurt. And you don't really want that going into the playoffs where, he's hobbling. And when you got Tyler Heineke having to come in for a snap, it's not great. So, they've got a big game coming up. I think they've got the Broncos next, which would obviously seal that playoff spot. But it's been a good season for them. They just need to build around it. They've got such a good base now. The squad's just not good enough. When again you compare against the top 3 or 4 teams in the AFC, they were never going to win it.
I think what we've seen these last few weeks is both the play of both O-line and defensive line has just completely dropped off. You saw that in just lack of a running game. The 11 for 32 on the ground. Obviously, Dobbins being just part of that, and then just how often Justin Herbert was hit. So tough for them. It just feels like it's going to flame out, and I think they might just end up being an easy out in the playoffs. Giving up 500 yards of offense to the Bucs as well. We know the Bucs can be good, but 500 yards of offense, given what the Chargers have been doing on defense, is.
I would say that because the Chargers ended with Patriots Raiders, so they should at least get 1 or 2 wins there. So that should be the playoff spot there. And when Mike Evans looks like he's fully fit after that injury, and Bucky Irvin, when we don't have him in our fantasy team, decides to go off and get 100 yards. It's the curse of our team happening again. Just decides to let's give it to Bucky Irvin now. And now the guys didn't pick him. So
251. I think it was mentioned. It's 251 yards for Mike Evans to get to his 1,000. So I said I would say it's something 84, not 82. Sorry, my maths was off. Potentially have a big game against the Cowboys next week on Sunday Night Football. Given. Everybody's just injured on the Cowboys defense.
He might get it next week.
Yeah, he might get it next week. I don't know. Good to see it. But Buccaneers Buccaneers Sunday Night Football 8-6 heading to Dallas to play the Cowboys, and Chargers Thursday Night Football against the Broncos, which we'll talk about at the end. But let's go Bills Lions next. We'll save it to the end, but let's just talk about it now. Give me this in February. We talked about it before, and it's potentially a Super Bowl dress rehearsal. Give me this game in February in the Superdome in New Orleans, because that's what every single person deserves for the end of this NFL season. And while it probably won't be as crazy as this, it'll be somewhere close, and that'll be the Super Bowl we all love, we all deserve. A first-time winner. What a great way to sign off the 2024 NFL season.
Yeah, can't say no more. Hopefully the Lions have some players available for it. It would be nice.
It's getting beyond ridiculous for the Lions. I should say, Bills win 48-42 to go to 11-3. The Lions dropped to 12-2, but I mean, let's start there because it's more than a game. The Lions have just dropped here. Defensively, I think they've lost another three players, all out for the season.
Yeah,
and they've also lost David Montgomery for the season.
McNeil's season's over. He's tore his ACL. Carlton Davis might not be because he fractured his jaw, so they're saying that he could possibly come back. And it feels like Yeah. And you feel like the cornerback, do you need your jaw to I know you're
That's all
talking
they
about game.
do.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the person who replaced Carlton Davis then went out straight afterward.
Horrible.
Yeah, that horrible injury.
Just kind of smashed shins crossing the field. It was disgusting.
Yeah. And like I said, that Montgomery injury, I think it is massive. I'll be curious how Gibbs play because obviously he's a great running back. But obviously they do like one possession each, and they get all that time off. Where it's unlike probably most tandems in the NFL, where it's like you're just going to go for this one, whatever, unless you're really tired. But now that it's going to be all on Gibbs' back, is he going to be able to do it? I think he can. I think he can have a big like end of the season and do that. But it is a massive loss, especially Montgomery's you one who you like when you get to the goal line when you need a yard or two, especially with how Dan Campbell is with his fourth downs and going for going through where he does, you need that big back. So I'm curious who they get in, and I'll check it out. Onside with 12 minutes to go, only 10 down.
I'm the biggest Dan Campbell defender. I am the Dan Campbell loyalist, I think, of all time. That was a stupid decision. He's come out and said it was a mistake afterwards as well. I understand kind of the logic of you can't fucking stop them.
Yeah.
So try and get the ball back sneakily. But I think that's the kind of onside kick you make when the rules were different.
Yes.
I don't think you can do it nowadays.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'll defend Dan Campbell to the fucking death on his fourth down things because you've got to take the rough through the smooth. That was just bad process. Like,
yeah. He just kind of felt he needed to try and do something to change the momentum of the game because they weren't going to get a stop. And it's just they do have playmakers on defense, but yeah, they just weren't going to stop the Bills. Were they? The Bills were just relentless. So
and I think he has said that it was actually a good onside kick because it kicked up, but the fact that it did kick up, that helped Hollins grab it and then be like, oh shit, there's no one here. Similar to what happened with the was the Cowboys game.
Yes,
I think it was
the other week where it just popped up and it was like, oh, I could just run with this now.
I mean, to be fair, that broke the way that Hollins returned it and the Bills scored the play later kind of worked in the Lions' favor. It's just like, well, you just back where you were and you've lost 9 seconds. So it's like, yeah. But yeah, like I get it. It was bold and I think they just weren't going to stop the Bills with it.
I think what kind of helps is that isn't what cost them the game. Like, they weren't, so as much as it was a wrong decision, and like I say, he's even come out and said it was a mistake. It's one of the rare times where I'm like, what the fuck is Dan Campbell doing? Jesus. Because I'll normally live and die with his decisions because that's what he does. But that was just dumb.
Yeah, I think
if it's emotional, it was.
Yeah, I think talk about kind of what cost them game. They started real slow, and obviously the Bills got up on them early. They got up 14-0 inside 10 minutes, I think, or inside 8 minutes of game time. Great. Josh Allen, 2 rushing touchdowns. Cash that bet at 8-1 nice and early. Always good not to have to sweat on one. But yeah, I think kind of slow start and probably what was key, which feels harsh because he had obviously incredible game. The Amon-Ra St. Brown fumble that led to points immediately. Kind of the Bills scored within kind of 5 plays or 2 minutes. And those are the kind of the 2 things if you're looking at. But just a monumental contest. The Lions were down big at points as well. I think they were down 21-17, but they just, everything that's going on with them, they just kept coming. Goff was incredible. Gibbs had a good game. Amon-Ra, we've just talked about. Sam Laporta showed up finally with a big game, reminiscent of kind of one of the games he was having last year.
Dan Skipper.
Yeah, Dan Skipper, big man touchdown.
I would say, sorry. I'll let you go, Byron. No, I'll let you go, Byron, because he'll be.
It just reminded me of seeing Dan Skipper catch that pass. Did you see the video of Dan Campbell's winning video last week? Where he's in the locker room all rah-rah'd up. He's giving them all the hype. I can't remember who the game was against the week before. Packers, Vikings? Packers. And Dan Skipper is literally vomiting into a bin. And Dan Campbell calls him out and goes, hey, Skip, you keep vomiting, do what you're doing. They're like, the camera goods to Dan Skipper literally just throwing up in a bin at the end of the game. And yeah, here he is out there catching touchdowns. It was quite a sight, or quite a contrast, should we say.
But yeah,
probably thrown up on the sideline.
Just for phenomenal game of the season, I think so far, overtaking probably the Bills and Rams just from last week, which was obviously hard to do it. I can't remember seeing the stat, but the Bills I think it might be the first to win back-to-back weeks, scoring 40 plus and giving up. First team to score 40 plus and give up 40 plus in back-to-back weeks, which is phenomenal. Over 1,000 yards of offense. I think it was close to 1,100. Yeah, 1,100 yards by the end of it. 12 touchdowns. Yeah, phenomenal stuff. I'm just worried the Lions are just going to run out of people. I think this is where I'm not wishing ill on the Lions or anything like that, but I took Vikings to win the division today, plus 300. So before their game against, because we're recording Monday night, UK time, so it's before the game against the Bears, which are big favourites in. They're plus 300. I just think if it gets down to that week 18, the Vikings are in a better shape than the Lions are. And the first game earlier in the season was very, very close when the Lions had so many more bodies on defense.
I'm curious if they're just going to change the defense now because they're playing a lot of man. Because they had all them good players, they might have to just change it up. Because I think even against the Packers, it felt like they gave a lot of yards up. And even though it was close, I always felt like the Bills was comfortable in this game, especially when they got that lead. Like the last couple of field goals, I feel like if they needed to, they could have got more points. It just felt like Josh Allen had this game in command. He's probably sewing up the MVP right now. I'll be shocked if he has a stinker, especially with for the last 3 games they've got
Patriots twice
and the Jets. So yeah, it'd be a major surprise if he doesn't win the MVP just with that kind of performance. But on the flip side, I wonder how the Bills do, because obviously the defense has given up quite a lot of points and yards, but it is to two NFC teams. I still think they'll be fine in the AFC because there's not the high power offenses to be in the playoffs like there is in the NFC. But I'm curious, if they're both in defensive wise, if they're both going to just change it up to be like, especially the Lions with all these injuries now, to be like, maybe we have to change this with the last 3 weeks because we can't just keep giving up these points because with more injuries as well. Because like I said, I feel like if they play like that against someone like the Packers, I know they beat them twice, but they both were super close and you can get got, it feels like. Well, it feels like the Bills, the only way they're going to get got is if they have like an absolute stink against the Chiefs. It just feels like it's set up for that kind of game.
Yeah, it's weird. I know I missed our review last week. Obviously, I was sick. The Iron Man streak died, etc. But I was thinking, like, do you know if I was the Bills, probably the one team I wouldn't want to see in the playoffs, and they won't see them, is the Bengals. Because, like, it was just watching that Rams game last week, was just like, the Bengals can't defend, but they'll just go up the field over and over. And I don't think that's the kind of game the Bills want. I know they keep having them, but, like, those games can be so, like, well, we've seen here, Monreal fumbles the ball, and that probably changes the outcome of the game. The Bills could easily fall into a game like that with a team like the Bengals who would put up 40 points on them. But luckily for them, the Bengals ain't making the playoffs. So,
well, exactly. I think what I said last week was that they struggle. It feels like with any team who's got a true number one, like a superstar number one, and obviously the Bengals do have that, but like none of the other teams don't. So again, this week, Amon-Ra Brown is a true number one, and he goes off. So yeah, like you said, I'm sure they're pretty happy that the Bengals defense absolutely stinks.
Where does Ty Johnson just pull these games from as well? Just like
he looks like Danny and Tomlinson like once every 6 weeks. It's wild. I mean, what did he have? 110 receiving yards or something, right?
5 receptions for 114 yards. 90 odd of them were in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I actually picked it up in a dynasty league on Sunday morning because I had 2 IR spots become of it. Well, like 2 players went on IR. Unfortunately, I'd rather have the players, but I didn't actually end up starting him, and I won anyway, thankfully. But I was like, Ty Johnson's due one of them wacky games. Let's just pick him up in case. And like I said, I didn't actually start him, but
and the fact that Amari Cooper doesn't even get targeted this game, which is like nuts. And I've got him on my fantasy. Obviously, I started him, and he gets. But yeah, when you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players was targeted for the Bills, and Cooper wasn't one of them. Which is like,
cardio for him at least.
Yeah,
he was out there running routes. Just
Yep. Because I was like, is he injured or something? Then I was like, oh no, it just hasn't been thrown to him. And I was like, that should
fantasy game day.
That just sums up my fantasy season basically.
Lucky.
And I mean, Jared Goff's had some incredible stats this season. I just want to shout this one out. I'm sure everyone's seen it, but just to put it on. First play in NFL history, 400 or more passing yards, 5 or more touchdowns, no interceptions, and lose. First time it's ever happened. He's had a lot of firsts, I think, this year, Jared Goff, in good regards. I mean, that's generally a positive game, obviously, but when it's not your week, it's not your week, is it?
Yeah, I'm very, very much glad for Jared Goff having huge games. It should have helped me through my fantasy semi-final onto hopefully the final. Just waiting on Monday Night Football outcomes, but should be golden. Bills now favourites to win the Super Bowl, plus 400 on the Buffalo Bills, so just overtaking the Lions. So after beating them, you still got the Lions at plus 450, along with the Philadelphia Eagles, who we'll talk about next. Eagles won the Battle of Pennsylvania. They are the Kings of Pennsylvania.
Super Bowl. PA Bowl. Super
Bowl, yes. 27-13. Eagles, beat the Steelers. And this was comfortable. I think I don't know if it was yourself, Byron, that shouted out in the preview that you thought kind of the Eagles were going to be comfortable here against the Steelers. And that was the case, really.
Yeah, I mean, from the time the Steelers brought it back 17-13 in the second quarter, the Steelers had 11 more touches of the ball, or 11 more plays. The Eagles' second half just went 13 field goal, 13 touchdown, 21 end the game. Like, they just bored the shit out of the game, essentially. You know, it wasn't exactly the most exciting watch. It was a tense game, though. It was fiery. Darius Slay and Darnell Washington got into it. I would not want to fancy Darius Slay's odds in that one. Darnell Washington is an absolute brick shithouse. He's one of the players I really wouldn't want to fuck with, Darnell Washington. I remember his combine footage. I don't know if you guys do, of him like shoving the thing that pushed the sled, and it looked like there was nothing on it. And then I watched someone else do it. I'm like, oh, that's how it's meant to look. Okay. It's actually weighted.
He had Slay, didn't he, on a block? So poor Darius Slay. And I
think he was trying to block him into the next state, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, he should have released him because he was out of bounds. But yeah, Slay didn't take it too well. It's a bit disrespectfully, I think.
And I'm sure you've seen the film The Blind Side, where like he takes him.
Yeah.
It was that, and then it just led to a fight. But yeah, just stay away from Darnell Washington.
Sandra Bullock wasn't there to calm it down, unfortunately.
She was not, sadly. I think the Eagles have made a point in this one about just kind of we're gonna, we know the Steelers are gonna they're gonna try and outmatch us physically, and kind of the Eagles just made a point of we're not gonna let you push us around and just kill them. And it's not very often you see kind of Tomlin and the Steelers come up against a team where they're just outmanned, if you will, or outgunned from a physical perspective. And while this was why I was on the over, and just that second half killed it. It was cruising with 30 points at halftime. It was over 43. I was like, no danger. And then just the 10 points in the second half. I was a little bit worried for the Eagles start because they played really clean football the last kind of on this run, especially the last 6 weeks, and then had the 2 turnovers early, but the Steelers just couldn't capitalize. Yeah. So they had the TJ Watt punch out on Hurts and Cooper DeJean fumble on the kickoff return, and the Steelers only walked away with 3 points, and it was like that's just not going to cut it. Like, you have to take advantage of those situations, and they just didn't.
Yeah, I think I was going to big you up as well. That the fact you mentioned that George Pickens not playing, I think that was massive because the Steelers really don't have that second guy to step up. There's obviously players that when Pickens in but it's because it's Pickens drawing everyone to him. And it feels like the Eagles were like, okay, the media has been talking about these wide receivers and we can't pass and they're super angry, so let's just throw it loads. And Barkley didn't run that much, so it's probably a good week that you didn't put your usual bet on for your rushing one, because it felt like they got away from that. But Gainwell had a really big game. It felt like, it felt like a lot of times, like, let's just get Gainwell and let's sit Barkley quite kind of bit. And I think that's like good management, that they didn't really need Barkley to go off to win this game.
Saquon took that massive shot from Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think, which is why we didn't see that much more of Saquon.
I think that just shows how good they are, though. That the fact that our big player, if it was a tight game, he probably could have come back in and he could have risked that. But the fact that you're able to just say, okay, let's lean on pass game, let's get Gainwell in, who, like I said, who has these is another similar player where he just pops up every now and then and has a really good game.
The spin move that he hit was
so good.
Lovely, yeah.
But I would say, I think again, it was similar to the Lions-Bills game. It was that fumble by Najee Harris where that felt like changed the game completely. Because if there was actually, I know they only had 4 players that drive, but they had a big play in it, and you thought, oh, they could do something here, down 7, and it was just such a nothing fumble as well, where Russell Wilson threw it straight into his breadbasket and he just drops it.
Yeah,
and then that's basically the game done, because once it got two scores, the Steelers team wasn't coming back. But that was like the moment to let's try and make this a game. And and we could probably say now the Eagles are would you say the best team in the NFC now, just with how the Lions played and with their injuries?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just with kind of where the Lions are in terms of defensively, they've just no resistance at the minute, have they? And yeah, I've been praising the Eagles, and it still makes me feel a bit sick, but. Yeah, kind of like getting more and more players on defense are standing up. Even like Nolan Smith a bit, it's like standing out a little bit. Of like he's making kind of some more plays, and yeah, real impressed with him. Tomlin punting in plus territory, down 14 with 10 minutes to go. Of all the people,
Yeah, I mean, criticized Dan Campbell being too aggressive. This is pathetic from Tomlin.
It was 4th and 7 as well. I think I know kind of you struggling offensively, but
like, what do you gain there? 25 yards.
They never got the ball back. They did not touch the ball again after that punt. Like the Eagles, and that that as boring as it is, like that showed me a lot for the Eagles around. I think they can just do what they want against a lot of teams. I'd be hard to stop. Like if the Eagles played the Lions next week, I think the Eagles would kill the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be favourites, certainly. I think the thing you'd hope for is that Jalen Hurts has a bad game. But they don't need Jalen Hurts to do much, luckily for them.
And I think what's huge going into these next few games, obviously the Lions are still the number 1 seed, but if they lose that, the Lions in Philadelphia in January is completely different to, playing in indoor in Detroit, especially for this Lions team. Well, I feel like the Eagles could do it either stadium. They could put a show on, but I'm not quite sure about this Lions team going away from home. Just, we've mentioned the stats with Goff inside and outside, and that environment. Can they do that against this hardened Eagles? So I think that's massive. And I think that Lions have got some tough games the next 3 games as well. So this is huge for the Eagles to get that number 1 seed. But on the bright spot for the Steelers, they have made the playoffs. So
yes,
they are by losing.
Nick Sirianni, he gets to walk away from challenging the defensive line coach.
Yeah, it's always something, isn't it, in Philly?
That's it. Like that's the other thing as well. Like Jalen Hurts might do something wacky and throw a weird pick. Nick Sirianni might just fucking go off the rails as well. Like that is, I don't know if I've ever seen a head coach be so disrespected on his own sideline, or at least like a quote unquote good head coach, like one who wins a lot of games.
Like they're playing so well, like everything's going wild. So well for them. Yeah,
it feels like Sirianni's like one of them people that you date who just can't avoid drama, and you're like, just get rid of them. Like they're not worth it.
Yeah,
he's way too crazy on the hot crazy scale. He's just not. He's not a good enough coach to deal with all his emotional baggage.
And we talked about Saquon taking a big shot. TJ Watt for the Steelers, low ankle sprain, which is the good one. Still, they play 2 games in the next, what is it? 9 days?
Yeah, it will be.
Maybe a bit longer than that. So they've got the Ravens, which is huge, on Saturday, and then they play Christmas Day against the Chiefs. If they go into that without TJ Watt, this is trouble for the Steelers.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't on crutches or in a boot or anything, so obviously that's positive news. But
yeah, we don't need all the stars ruled out of this Christmas Day game for Chiefs Steelers.
But I was going to say, with the Steelers, because they've made the playoffs now, I know that obviously that number 1's, to get to the AFC North to win the division is big. But would you think just about resting him? Just so he's there for the postseason.
You have to see how he is ultimately. Yeah. Like I think it's a hard one. If he's good to go, I think he goes. I think if it's pushed, I would lean on the thing of resting him because you're not going to get the number 1 seed regardless. Steelers can win home or road. I don't think they're one of them teams, like we just discussed with Lions. I don't think it matters too much. Like, you want a home game, obviously, but much more importantly, you want TJ Watt fit. So
the way it's looking, that AFC North win is going to be the 3 seed. The runner-up's going to be the 5?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't play Steelers. So Steelers Ravens wouldn't play, would they?
Either 5 or 6 depends how. If it's a Steelers, probably the 5, yeah.
So then you play the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I wouldn't play. Maybe I would rest TJ Watt. Like, if you're going to... And almost, I'd almost also rest him if it was going to end up just I'd lose the division and play the Ravens in Baltimore again. Because, you've got the formula to beat the Ravens in Pittsburgh or Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. It's tough on... So Matt Thomas got to make the call. We'll see. Maybe we'll get some insight in Hard Knocks in a week's time. Have you been watching Hard Knocks quickly because it's focused on the AFC North?
I haven't, no. I've heard good things about it. I don't have HBO, so I have to download it, and I just haven't got around to it. I probably will catch it by the end of the season, but
it's been good. It's been a different vibe with the 4 teams, so enjoyed it.
I think this is 4 good teams to do it with, though, in season 1. Like, the NFC West won a few years ago with the Cardinals. It felt like dudish. Whereas these are 4 good head coaches, I think, or these 4 good teams. I'm not sure how much value you're getting from Zach Taylor, but
Jameis in front of the camera, obviously great. Tomlin in front of the camera, incredible. So and everything else in between. Steelers Ravens Sunday, so we'll preview that. On Saturday, sorry, we'll preview that in detail next week. And Eagles can steal the NFC East against the Commanders next week, which is probably going to be the Sky Sports game for Sunday. Right, 4-4 challenge. Let's get rounding up the rest of the games. I thought we were doing real good for time then, and then we just spent 15 minutes talking Eagles Steelers.
And I didn't even talk about the Steagles.
The Steagles, yes. Yeah, the Steagles. Save that for next time. Save that for 4 years' time when they play. 4-4 challenge. So this is where we try and hit a 12-1 bet, selecting a favourite underdog overall under for the NFL slate. Mixed bag this week. Joe, we'll start with you. 0-3 so far. You've got the Monday night. You've got your Falcons as your favourite on Monday Night Football, but you and Byron are very, very close here for who's going to be taking on this 24-hour fast food chain challenge.
Yeah, not a great week to go 0-3. I was hoping to, I went head-to-head with Byron in one game, and I think I said it beforehand. I said, I know by picking the Steelers, they're actually going to lose, and it came true. So,
do you two think you're going to be doing this a lot? Because I think I'm almost home now. There's 12 picks left, isn't there?
Oh, you're done.
So I'm done. I'm not mathematically done, but I'm done. I think. I'm my 4-4 game strong.
You have as much chance of losing as I guess I've of winning.
Yeah. But are you two going to start doing that? Do you think during the draft as we go, just maybe taking the other side just to try and get some head-to-head and get some clear ground?
It's not on my radar. I'll just pick what I think are the best, I must say. But Joe threw down last week, and I don't think he'll want to do it again.
I think the problem I'm having as well, I'm sure the last few weeks, I've made a pick near the beginning, and both you've gone, oh, that's a great pick. I was going to pick that next. And they always fucking lose. And it's just I just need you guys to pick them first. I need to pick my worst ones first, and then you guys take the other ones. So,
well, if it does make you feel any better, Joe, we'll start with your under. You were on Bucks Chargers under 45.5. I bet it. So it wasn't in my 4-4 because you picked it, but I bet it and lost out big on it. So it was 57 points because it was just it just got off to a hot start, didn't it? And then the Bucks kept going. Let's talk Sunday Night Football, though. You had over Packers, Seahawks. Wasn't helped by obviously Geno going out injured, but the Seahawks were just struggling in this game anyway. Packers 30-13, comfortable winners. 10-4, they're in the playoffs with that win. Yeah, and Seattle Seahawks 8-6. I don't know if Geno's going to be out here. You see, it was an ankle injury, wasn't it? It was a nasty hit that he took. Don't know if he's going to miss any time, but it didn't look great. Oh, it's knee injury. Sorry, not ankle. Apologies. We were just talking about TJ Watt. Seahawks obviously just had been going well, but they just looked awful here against the Packers.
Yeah, they just didn't get going all game, and their defense didn't hold up either, which has been a real benefit the second half of the season. But yeah, really sloppy game. And if Geno misses, I dare say if Geno misses a week, I think they're done for the playoffs because the Rams look really good right now. So huge next 3 for the Seahawks. It's been a promising first year for Mike McDonald, but it looks like it's coming apart at just the wrong time, unfortunately. And Green Bay, very good on the road again. We talked about on Thursday, Seahawks home advantage isn't what it used to be by any means. And I'm not going to say it felt like a Packers home game, but it kind of felt like it was on neutral field yesterday. It didn't feel like a Seahawks home game by any means.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that home advantage for that Seahawks fan is just kind of, I think it's completely gone for this season. They have been so much better on the road as well. They're 3-5 at home, 5-1 on the road, the Seahawks. But yeah, Packers got a bit sloppy in the second half because I think it was so easy as well. Kind of, they've been so good in the red zone. They settled for field goals a lot and just a bit of sloppy play. Early on, I was really impressed with the Green Bay running game and just Josh Jacobs in general in the running and passing game. Like, what a free agent signing he's turned out to be. He's been phenomenal. Like, he's kind of underneath Henry and Barkley and Henry as it should be, I guess. Like, I think Josh Jacobs has been kind of probably arguably maybe best of the rest.
Yeah, very tough to argue. I mean, we had Jahmyr Gibbs at number 3 on our All-Pro selections, but I mean, Jacobs is certainly there with him. He was even my 4 or 5. He was my 4. I had Kamara 5. I presume you guys had him in top 5 as well. He's just been so solid. And again, a bold call by Brian Gutekunst, the Packers GM, because they released Aaron Jones, who's, club legend really for the Packers over the last 5-6 years, and went and got Josh Jacobs thinking it was a clear upgrade. And Aaron Jones isn't chop liver, but Jacobs has been really, really good. He's been a clear upgrade this season.
I think I was wary of those, especially those that kind of hit that, they get that rushing title and then they drop off. Like, so often they never come back. But Jacobs has had a real big bounce back. Which is phenomenal stuff. Packers rolling. They're another one where I see, like, if the Packers got another shot at the Lions in the playoffs. I just can't see how the Packers. I think the Packers have got a chance of maybe causing a bit of an upset there.
And I wouldn't give up on Seahawks just yet, just because it's what I've said all year. Them, Rams, Cardinals, probably not the 49ers, but all the other ones have been so up and down, and I've never trusted them. One game they'll look amazing, you think, wow, no one wants to play them, and then they do a stinker like this, and it doesn't help. It feels like Geno throws quite a lot of interceptions in the red zone. Obviously, that didn't help at the beginning, and when you wanted another 46, and it got closer and closer. But when Sam Howell was just going, the thing I was just hoping for, I would throw a few touchdown interceptions, because that's where most of them were looking like he was going to go in that second half. But I think it went from a stretch, it went like punt. It felt like in the space of like 5 minutes, and didn't quite make that 46 just free off.
Yeah, I think it was kind of Geno was just under pressure again. It was 12 quarterbacks hits combined on Howell and Geno, but like interception too. It was like pressure in his face, off his back foot, and just looped it up there to be picked off. So struggle. They're not the struggle protecting Geno all year. And the middle of the defensive line that's been strong recently also kind of struggled against the Packers. So not good outing for the Seahawks. They've got the Vikings next as well. Kind of the way the Vikings are. It's that's a struggle. Packers on Monday Night Football against the New Orleans Saints.
I would just last thing. I think this Packers is just looking like the perfect Shanahan kind of system team right now, where they're just bullying people, and it's not usually the Packers way. So good on them, and super strong going forward.
Excellent, cool. Right, next stop. So we talked about. So you're waiting on the Falcons as your favourite to get one win on the board this week at least, Joe, and then you had the Steelers as your underdog. We'll start with mine. I was 3-1. I wouldn't say unlucky because my over really wasn't threatening to hit the over. I could have got a bit of luck if it did get to overtime to get there in the Commanders Saints, which we've already talked about. But I had the Bengals as my favourites. 5-point favourites against the Titans. It finished 37-27, so closer than maybe it should have been the way it was going. But I was a bit nervous at the start because this ended up being a bit of a shootout to start with. And I was thinking just kind of the Bengals is going to do this again and just come up short against a shit team. But no, fairly comfortable in the end.
I think it's a bit.
Get there.
Yeah, Will Levis helped massively.
Yeah. This was the most frustrating. Why did not take the over game of the week? Just watching this, like, course, both these teams can't defend. What was it? 10 turnovers, which I think is like one of the most in like a decade or something like that. There was, I think, penalty wise, there was like 200 and I think like over 250 worth of penalties in this game. It was just a drab affair. We had a fumble recovery, fumble out the end zone when it was we're switching hands to celebrate. So there could have even been more points. It was just an absolute bonkers game where it just shows a bit why the Bengals are where they are, where they're such a good offense, but they're still letting the Tennessee Titans get 27 on them with Rudolph coming in. And the Titans just being abysmal, and God knows where they're going to go next year now.
Yeah, that was Mike Hilton, wasn't it? Getting a bit giddy on the interception or fumble return. And somehow it wasn't the worst one of those plays this week. We'll get to that one later.
It was Jordan Battle.
Jordan Battle, sorry, was it? My apologies, Mike Hilton. Jordan Battle. It was you. Yeah. And can we just shout out to Devondre Sweat? Because that was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of managed to strip the ball from Joe Burrow. And how far did he return it? He must have returned it like 30, 40 yards. And, we talk about, and we always see those highlight reels of Derrick Henry stiff arms. We need a collection of Devondre Sweat stiff arms, because I can't remember who it was he stiff armed, but I genuinely thought he broke his neck.
Yeah, it was only 19 yards as well, but it felt like more. But big guy running always feels a bit more, doesn't it?
Incredible stuff. What, he's 360 something pounds, isn't there?
Yeah. Before pads.
That's before the pads. I think he's 366, 26 stone. Just
fella.
That goes on my off the plate, my favourite plays so far this year. Baker holding off Nick Bosa with one hand and completing a pass on fourth down. Leonard Williams, and Rodgers pick six. And that Devondre Sweat play. They're my three favourite plays of the season so far.
It says a lot when the Riverdale's now just, forgotten.
Yeah, I'll Saquon.
It's Saquon Barkley who did it, so it doesn't count because he can just do that. We expect that.
Yeah, if Saquon was
fast, Devondre Sweat to start fucking breaking necks and ankles,
Yeah, stick the Riverdale on that. That's my Mount Rushmore of 2024 NFL plays. It's going to be tough to get on there.
Absolutely. And shout out Will Levis. Only third player during their first 11 games of the season to throw 4 pick sixes. Yeah. But do you want to guess who one of the other ones is? I mean, you can try and guess both of them if you want, but I'm...
Oh, Matt Schwab?
No, I'm surprised he's not on there, though.
Oh,
he's a pick king.
Jameis,
and Philip Rivers done it in 2015. But Jameis is the gimme one there, I think.
That has to be that in the 30 for 30 season, surely.
2019, so I think it was,
Yeah. Excellent. Titans, terrible. 3-11. Bengals, not dead yet. I think not mathematically dead. But yeah.
6% chance.
6 and still a
big one Thursday night for them because it's Chargers Broncos, right?
Yeah, Chargers Broncos. So they would need the
Chargers to lose out, essentially.
Yeah. Bengals have the Browns next week, and the Titans have the Colts. That'll be a fun game. Cowboys. I had the Cowboys as my underdog. I thought this was crazy that they were underdogs here. I know the Panthers had been playing a lot better, but they hadn't been winning. So I thought it was insane, really, that we're favourites against the Cowboys here. And turned out I thought the Cowboys would win comfortably, and they did. 30-14. Bryce kind of took a bit of a step back. He had a bad day, didn't he? Kind of a fumble, a couple of interceptions. One he was unlucky with. One was a great play from Jordan Lewis for the Kendricks one, and I suppose one was just kind of desperation near the end. But outside of kind of that one massive play to Jalen Coker from a Cowboys turnover, the Panthers really did struggle. And probably Cooper Rush's best outing of the season so far for the Cowboys. in
Yeah.
relief.
I think so. Rico Dowdle, real impressive as well.
Yeah. I think he's got that job for next year now, hasn't he? I think he's done enough to say, well, actually, if we just give him enough carries,
yeah,
all lines playing better, which helps as well.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep bemoaning it. He should have had it all season.
Yeah,
it's the most ludicrous thing how long he had to wait to get in there. Since he came back in from, I think he missed a game week 8 or week 9. He's got the second most rushing yards in the league. This is 3 100-yard rushing games in a row. First undrafted player to do that since Arian Foster in 2014. He's such a bright spark for the Cowboys team this year. I thought he was going to be like the best of a bad bunch coming into the season. It really annoyed me that he didn't get much work. He's just genuinely pretty good.
Yeah.
No name value, so I think he's obviously been looked over a lot in his career, but I've been so impressed with him down the stretch. I think he should absolutely have this job locked up for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Matt McCarthy's going to keep his job here, isn't he?
Well, they can't get big name Bill Belichick in.
Yep. He's going to give McCarthy another 12 months or something. Madness.
I wouldn't be stunned.
Yeah.
There's also Stephen Jones had some interesting comments about Micah Parsons, maybe not exactly explicitly being available for a trade, but I wouldn't be surprised. It felt like they were kind of going down that road, which.
Was there more big injuries during the game? I saw you put him in the group. Was it during the game?
No, so it wasn't during the game. But he had the news that Overshawn's knee exploded, so he's done for probably a full calendar year. So that's next season. You probably lost him for. And Trayvon Diggs is just about to have a knee operation, his second big one in 2 seasons. He's likely going to be out struggling for the early part of next season as well. So these are big players on defense that there's just so many holes. O-line, Zach Martin's going to go. You've got O-line holes. You probably need some more wide receiver help. You definitely need some more running back help, even though you need somebody else with Dowdle. You need D-line. There's so many holes on this Cowboys team, and they've not got a lot of room to work in. So,
I mean, to be fair though, like the wide receiver help, we've got help mid-season. Obviously, Jonathan Mingo revenge game, no targets.
Right, let's move on from Cowboys talk. Sunday Night Football, they're on Sunday Night Football, so we'll talk about them more next week. But 6 wins, which is more than I thought we'd get to, given where they were early in the season. Dolphins, Texans, it was my under, and comfortably under. Jesus Christ, the Dolphins were bad, weren't they? I know the Texans haven't been rolling, but their defense defense was kind of strong again here. And yeah, Tua had a nightmare, didn't he? Also, didn't really get much help from Mike McDaniel because they were just kind of dump off plays the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I think he went to Tyreek down the field twice, maybe. Tyreek Hill tried to catch with his feet, which it worked for David De Gea as a goalkeeper, but yeah, maybe don't try and catch it with your feet. Wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, Dolphins just looked out of sorts. After a really promising spell since Tua came back, this was like I could say a lot of it's on McDaniel as well, though. I don't know what they're doing.
I think his record above plus 500 teams is disgraceful. I think it's like 3-15 or something crazy. It's like a really low percentage for a head coach coming into the year. We were saying, he's probably a top 5 head coach. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I think I'll obviously stick with him, but an owner might get to a point where it's like, we're not going anywhere with this. It just feels like the same Dolphins the last few years. Like nothing's changed. They don't seem close to winning. They just seem like that kind of team who might sneak a playoff spot, but then get knocked out fairly easily. So yeah, and it just makes the AFC, especially the AFC playoff race, just a bit drab now, which feels a bit in week 15.
This is one of the ones where we needed kind of the Dolphins to win to keep it exciting and keep the pressure on the Chargers. But yeah, it's not happening.
And a quick question, Paul. Are you getting a bit worried about Joe Mixon?
A little bit, yeah. He had another stinker in 23 rushing yards from 12 carries. It's 90. I need 91 yards, Joe. He's 91 yards in 3 games. So, but he's gone for less than 25 in 2 of his last 3. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I am getting very worried.
Who have they got coming up?
They have the... Where are they next week? I think they're Chiefs. They've got the Chiefs on Saturday. They got the Chiefs on Saturday.
Then Ravens, who are a great run defense.
Yeah.
And then they got the Titans, so it might be all about Titans game for that 1,000 yard one.
Yeah.
But they might be secured in 4 and be resting everybody.
Yeah, that could also happen. So
999 yards.
Yeah. I was sort of like, after the first few weeks, I was like, yeah, don't need to worry about that one. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Texans 9-5, and then play. They play Saturday and then Christmas Day, and then Dolphins 6-8 and dead. I was 3-1. That's the 4th time I've been 3-1 in the fourfold, and I've hit twice. Joe just posted some stats in the turnaround of where we were versus this point last year. I think I'm 10 wins up, which I think is a good turnaround. You two are pretty you're 6 wins down, and Byron, you're 12 wins down.
Yeah, I had a great year last year, obviously.
Yeah. Definitely, the draft's certainly not helping us, but it makes it more entertaining.
Better in free agency, yeah.
Byron, your over was Cowboys Panthers, which we talked about. Did that just hit? No. It did,
by 1 point, yeah.
Yeah, 44 or 43. You were the under was Patriots Cardinals. Cardinals kind of still alive in this NFC West. They could have done with the Commanders losing just to kind of open that up a little bit, but 30-17, pretty comfortable afternoon's work for Arizona.
Yeah, really comfortable for Arizona. Not comfortable for my under. I mean, it was 16 points at halftime. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I thought that was the nailed on at halftime, and then got banged in a big spot. Cardinals just kept scoring, and Trey McBride still can't get a receiving touchdown, but everyone else can. So
everyone else can.
Good for them.
I know still helps the Cardinals. They've got the Panthers next week, but obviously the Seahawks have got the Vikings, and then they've got the Rams. So realistically, and then the 49ers. But so they've got, it feels like it's in their own hands, kind of. I think they can catch up the Seahawks, who have got also the Rams and the Vikings, that I mentioned. So this NFC is wide open except for one team.
Yeah, lucky Joe. Patriots 43-11, Cardinals 7-7. We've got to mention. Thanks for reminding me, Joe. Yeah, Texans also clinched the AFC South as well, which I was going to wait for when talking about the Colts, but just while you reminded me. You had the Eagles as your favourite, -5, and then Seahawks as your underdog, +2.5. So, you went 2-2. I guessed Phil, who's wrote an article for Join the Huddle about his picks and his experience on good teams and great teams cover, so go check that out. He's giving himself a bit of a hard time on his picks as he went 1-3. We had his Commanders as his favourite, Steelers as his underdog, didn't hit. Over in Bills-Lions, which comfortably hit. And under in Bengals Titans. So I'm leading the way. Joe just holding off Byron for the forfeit at the minute. And guests 23-35-2. It's been a bad year for the guests. Let's talk about the rest of our games through our ATS picks. Byron, Joe, 8-6, good weeks for you. I went more for the let's try and keep it alive picks, which probably cost me. Should have flipped the other way, and I should have been picking Texans, Broncos. And that's I suppose the difference for me this week. But Thursday night football, Joe, Niners dead, as you've just mentioned. Rams came away. This was a stinker of a game. 12-6. This was not
yeah. Yeah, obviously the weather didn't help that all our bets were on about points and then turn it on and it's like a monsoon. That was one of the worst performances. Just a big letdown. Some of the play calling was a bit, not adventurous or, I know it's raining, but they had to win this game. Obviously, that Debo drop was massive. When he's been in the media all week that he needs more of the ball and all this kind of stuff, and it drops a would-be touchdown. I think it was either to go up 7 or to go up 10. It was like a massive moment of the game. And the Rams, and obviously the big news coming out of it, Greenlaw got injured, and they were trying to get the Devon Campbell in, who has been the starting linebacker back for the year. But obviously, when Greenlaw comes back, who's one of the best linebackers, who's like a legend at the 49ers, everyone loves him to then get the, to get the bottom lip out because he started and you haven't. It's a bit pathetic. So I think he's rightly so getting absolutely hammered by everyone, and he's been suspended for the last 3 games, cost himself $1 million just because he didn't fancy coming in a game which I could have understood if they were winning or it was a nothing game, but this is like the game for the season. Like they had to have this to keep the season going. And if they'd won that game, they would have been in this that's why I started hope, because if they won that game with the Seahawks losing and whatnot, they would have been in this NFC West title chase. But yeah, disappointing all around. I'm just hoping for everyone, no major injuries, all the people who are injured get more time to go for next year, and get the last place schedule where we're playing the NFC and AFC South next year. So if they finish fourth, it's looking pretty good for next year.
Big bounce.
And I'm curious, because obviously Purdy's extension, and there's been a lot of media about that. Is he going to get 60 million and all this kind of stuff? I think that's probably identity. But all these people who say don't pay him or only offer him 40 million, I don't know what world they're living on. He's going to get between 50 and 60, just like every other starting quarterback does in the NFL. So just accept that, 49ers fans. He's going to get 55 million a year, like Jalen Hurts, like Trevor Lawrence, all them kind of players.
Yeah.
It would be funny to be like, oh yeah, he should get paid less than Trevor Lawrence. It's like, it's not the draft anymore, guys. You have to see what they've done in the actual NFL.
Well, yeah, and also people's like, oh, don't sign him and just draft someone. Or like how it went well last time when they gave up 3 first-round picks for a guy who can't even start over Cooper Rush. So it's
Cooper Rush is winning games, mate. Maybe watch your mouth.
So what's Cooper Rush?
He deserves a 60 million contract then.
Was Cooper Rush 8-4 as a starting quarterback in the NFL? That's pretty good.
Purdy-esque.
Yeah, Purdy-esque.
Can even do it in the rain.
Oh,
probably. Don't know if that's been proven.
Niners play the Dolphins next week in a very meaningless game, and Rams have got the Jets. In one that's big for them.
That'd be an interesting game. Just how the Jets have been playing.
Yeah, we'll get to them shortly. Baltimore covered the 16.5, comfortably beating the New York Giants 35-14. We saw Tommy DeVito, we saw Tim Boyle. That was fun. Lamar, another 5-star performance, 5 touchdowns from Lamar, more touchdown passes than incompletions. Rashad Bateman, 2 touchdowns as well. But yeah, just a real easy day's work for the Ravens in the end.
Lamar Jackson, that is his 4th career game with more passing TDs and incompletions. He leads that NFL in that category now, tied with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, who I'm going to call, they played a lot longer than Lamar Jackson. In the entire NFL, quarterbacks with 3 or more pass touchdowns and a passer rating of 155 or better. Lamar Jackson has 3 of the 5 last games in that category. He has 7 of the last 23 in that category. Lamar Jackson is fucking unbelievable. And just one final statistical shout out. These are all from Football Perspective, who you should follow on Twitter, by the way. His 7th career today was at least as many passing touchdowns as incompletions. So he ties Peyton Manning for that one, for having at least as many, not more. So yeah, again, Peyton Manning played forever. Lamar Jackson is in his... He got drafted in 2018. Someone do the maths for me. His 7th season, 6.5 season. He started midway through. He's having a better year than last year, and he's not going to win the MVP. He shouldn't win the MVP. It should be Josh Allen. But my goodness, how good is Lamar Jackson?
Yeah,
I think he's like 3rd in 5 touchdowns, no interception games as well. I think it was like Drew Brees and maybe Tom Brady are like the only 2 above him. So
yeah, like them highlights yesterday. It's like watching men versus boys.
Oh,
and Lamar can he?
The honourable mention for favourite plays of the season that just misses the 4 earlier. Lamar having to pull his pants up while running.
I felt the wind on my butt, and he still runs for a first fucking down.
And he was still running. I think he ran for another 10 yards while he was pulling his pants up.
What a guy! Oh, I love Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. I guess we talked about the Ravens a little bit already. We talked about the Steelers. So yeah, big game as mentioned on Saturday for Ravens. Steelers, Giants have got the Falcons. We're all game we haven't talked about. Yeah, I was lone on the Chiefs. Chiefs covered for the first time in 8 games. Comfortable 21-7, but it wasn't without drama. Patrick Mahomes is dinged up. That didn't look good. Same question as what we were talking about with TJ Watt earlier. Do you sit him because you've got the Texans who great pass rush and great at sacking, getting at the quarterback while you're struggling with your tackles, and then they play the Steelers on Christmas Day. Given where they're at and they've already got 13 wins, do you sit him?
Yes. I think it's again you wait and see, because didn't it come out today that it wasn't as bad as it looked, basically, because it's a high ankle sprain, but I'm sure I saw something on Bleach Report saying it's not that bad as what they expected. So maybe they save in the first game. You've got a good backup in terms of like Carson Wentz, who's played the NFL, position, and he can get them through through the game. But yeah,
Carson Wentz has a Nick Foles run.
There you go.
And like this time next year, they're building a Carson Wentz statue outside Arrowhead.
The Chiefs are currently 2-point underdogs against the Texans on Saturday. So
underdog.
And I would say I think the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl a few more times. But what? Why would they give Carson Wentz a statue? Obviously, Eagles did because he was their first Super Bowl. So it'll be a bit of a shock.
KC special. He's going to run out. Kelsey's going to throw him a pass.
And he drops it. And then...
Probably. Yeah, his own ACL doing it. Yeah, it's more likely.
I've got something about this game though. Can we just stop with the Winston should be a starter next year, chat? I've heard this too many times this year. He's not a starting quarterback.
It was bad. It was bad.
He is a good backup though.
Yeah, he's a good. Do you know he's had 3 games with 3 interceptions, and he started playing in week 8, I think. So he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 starts, and 3 of them he's had 3 interception games.
Yeah, but don't you remember that game when he was amazing against the Ravens?
And the Broncos.
And the Broncos.
Well, when he also had 3 interceptions.
That's what you're going to get, though. Like, as a backup, that's fine. But going into a season with him as your starter is not to be recommended.
It feels like to be building, like, oh, he deserves the start. It's like, no, he's an interception machine, and he has these great games when he's on TV, and he does some good motivational speaking. But when he's just on a standard Sunday where not many people is watching, that's when it just the true Winston, where he's thrown into double coverage and having an absolute stinker.
This may be proof, though, that prayer does work. That's consecutive games without pick sixes. He asked the Lord to deliver him from pick sixes.
Yeah, I think he maybe needs to be a bit more asky in his requests then. Because maybe ask for a Super Bowl ring or to be a competent fucking quarterback. Not just don't throw pick sixes. Like, it's kind of the bare minimum, Jameis.
Well, one thing at a time. Jerry G did have another good game, though. He's on
1,000 now.
Yeah, quite a tear for Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. I would also say, so the Chiefs, I'm worried about their offensive line. Obviously, Mahomes getting hit way too many times. Yeah. And the fact, do they have 6 turnovers and only scored 21 points?
The Browns had 4 picks in total, 3 from Jameis, 1 from DTR. We had a DTR outing and a couple of fumbles. So, yeah.
I think he might start
as well.
Yeah. I think the only good thing about that, it gives him an extra year to recover. Broken foot's not that bad. He'll come back from that. But it's usually when someone does that big of an injury, the season to come back is not usually good. It's the year after where you see if they're back to the best. But yeah, I can see DTR maybe starting the next few games to see what they've got there.
That's always fun. Browns Bengals, as we've already mentioned. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. I think I if I was Andy Reid, I wouldn't be taking a risk with Patrick Mahomes getting hammered as often as he is at the minute as well. And not good. I think you probably need one. How many? The Bills got 11. The Bills on 12 wins or 11 wins.
Bills on 11. Chiefs on 13.
So the 2 games.
But the Bills will have the tie break.
Bills will have the tie break. Yeah.
Ultimately, you need Mahomes in January.
Yeah.
More than you need a bye week, I think.
Because technically, you could rest him.
Yeah, play Saturday, Wednesday, so it's a real quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Maybe rest him the Saturday and then go for the
best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair. Jets Jaguars next. That's the next game we talked about. We've not talked about. Jets came out this one. This was a fun game, unexpectedly fun game. So I thought this was going to be a miserable game, but 32-25. Jets, Jaguars. Rodgers obviously did look a little bit better. Devontae Adams had a great game. I think he had 150 odd of his receiving yards in the final 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Didn't he have his whole 198 yards in the second half?
Yes, in the first half, yeah.
Which is crazy. Yeah. But I don't know if you've seen the people are now starting talking themselves into Rodgers going back to the Jets next year. Has 2 good games. Forget about all the other 13 or 12 games they had before that, but these are 2 good games where he was close to 300 yards. I know he got his 3 touchdowns, and but yeah, let's bring him back again next year to see what the shit show brings. So
I think they might, not just on the basis of kind of these last 2 games, but just kind of where they are. Like so many 3-win teams, they're not going to have a top 5 pick, are they? Given how many 3-win teams there are, like
Mike McCarthy becoming the head coach.
Yeah, that'd be good. Send Big Mike there.
Take it.
But yeah, like I don't know. I think they might just roll with him for another year and then try and draft someone in 2026.
And then we'll be sat here when they're 3-9 saying, "Oh, next year they should change it all up." And if a head coach is gone, why do the Jets do the Jets?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they just kind of might just be a bit stuck. But yeah, just won this one. It was fun. Brees Hall with I suppose deciding score late on, and Mac Jones is very. I don't want to spend too long talking about the Jags, but Mac Jones, Jesus Christ, for somebody who's as horrendous as he is, he doesn't have give it and mouth off and get in people's face. Did you hear him call Hassan Reddick a bitch?
I didn't, but I think he's quite a lot of Jets fans there, to be fair.
Maybe, but yeah. Anyway, and Brian Thomas Jr., another great day. What a rookie season he's had in a bit of a mess that has been the Jaguars.
And shout out to the Jets are finally now 1-5 against Mac Jones. They finally get one over on Mark. Bitch.
Excellent stuff. Right, less about it. Right, last rant of the day, I think, for the last game. The only game I've talked about. Broncos, Colts, and Jonathan Taylor. Oh, my fucking God.
It's inexcusable.
Colts fall 13-31. I think the score was 13-7 early in the third quarter, and the Colts, great running play. Jonathan Taylor runs in for a 40-yard touchdown, but he didn't because he did the old Deshaun Jackson thing of flipping the ball away before he crosses the plane. I think the Colts go up 20-7 there because the Broncos didn't play well. Bo Nix had a bad day. No way the Colts don't win that game from there.
Yeah, Bo Nix not the worst passer of the day, though. Shout out my boy, Adonai Mitchell. Nice little. What kind of they called it a fumble recovery, I think, but that's a
I think it's fumble.
Yeah. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, absolutely, he's not a rookie. He's been in the end zone before, I'm pretty sure, Jonathan Taylor. It's not his first touchdown of the season or his life. I do not know what these players do. Like, what goes through that? Why are they so desperate to get rid of the fucking ball? It seems to have happened so many times this year. Hand
the ball to the ref.
Yeah.
Go hand it to him.
Yeah.
It's great. That's killed them up. Like, I'm convinced the way that game was going, it was a shit game in terms of like both teams coming off the bye. It was real bitty. Couldn't really get anything going either of them.
Nope.
And then kind of to go 2 scores up at that point, I don't see how the Colts wouldn't have won that game from there.
No, and I mean, let's be fair. That might be costing Chris Ballard his job. Might cost Shane Steichen his job. I don't think Steichen deserves to lose his job. I think Ballard probably does because Ballard's been there forever and hasn't won the division. Period. But like I say, it's just inexcusable. I do not know what players are doing. He's, like I said, not a rookie. He's been there before.
He got big. He got paid big. Got a decent contract. Yeah, the whole standoff and all that kind of stuff. But I've got that Mitchell fumble / interception. Why? They only was 17-13 down.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't even one of them like smart little throw it one. It was literally like free to the side and then threw right into the middle of the field where there was lots of players around. And it was just like, why? I'm guessing they did it because Richardson had another poor performance and he just wasn't going anywhere. He had a few fumbles, a few interceptions, and he wasn't having the greatest game. Obviously, they start off hot, but they just couldn't really get going after that. So they thought we need to try and do. We've just had. It's probably the momentum. We've just cost ourselves a touchdown. The Broncos have gone ahead. Broncos have gone ahead. Let's try something because it's just not working right now. But then that just killed the game. That was like, as soon as that happened, it was like, okay, the Colts have lost. There was no way they were coming back from that. It felt, and like you mentioned, it felt like whichever team got up 2 scores was winning that game.
Yeah.
And now the Broncos, I think you mentioned it. I think the Broncos are now the best scoring defense now. And the fact that, you had 3 interceptions from Bo Nix and you only score 13 points, again, it's another, says a lot about offense. If you get 3 turnovers and you only get 13 points, I'm guessing you probably didn't get many points off them turnovers because when they got a touchdown on the first drive of the game. So, yeah, disappointing from that side of you. And, we'll see whether, again, Broncos are one of them teams where I don't see them doing much. I think they've had some weird games. I think Nix has had a good rookie year, but I still don't think he's, top-notch kind of quarterback to get you far in the playoffs. I think they could be a fun team with the first week of the playoffs, but then get knocked off when they play a serious team.
I mean, one and done probably, but his first winning record in 9 years, I think. So since he won the Super Bowl in 2015, that's right. Someone make sure I'm right on that. I think so, yeah. Since they won Super Bowl 50, but bearing in mind, obviously they were $90 million dead cap. Everyone thought Sean Payton had lost it. They took Bo Nix, and we laughed that he was going to be by far and away the worst of the rookie quarterbacks. They're 9-5. They're going to be in the postseason. Incredible stuff from the Broncos. Colts are just a mess. Just awful. I feel like I was on Colts +4, which is why I'm so angry about it. But I feel like I've just been real angry about it anyway because Jonathan Taylor has rocks for brains. And that's the last of our games that we're going to talk about. Joe leading the way. He's still got a 7-game lead over Byron in the ATS Picks competition. So just between them two over these last few weeks, because I'm 20 games behind. So, not been so good for me there. Fantasy Game Day winning line-up. We did better this week, but still not great. We finished 69th out of 178 or 179. Winner was Boss Knickers. Bows Knickers, that makes more sense. Bows Knickers, Broncos fan, surely. Anyway, 190.48. Amon-Ra St. Brown as the captain. Josh Allen, I think that combo carried away. Nobody else got more than 20 points. When you hit your captain and your quarterback like that, going to be tough to beat. Again, I think that combination outscored our entire team. Second week in a row.
Close to it, yeah. And I love getting Justice Hill in here. I couldn't have been stronger on West Coast Derrick Henry. Let's have Derrick Henry captain. Dud. I hold my hands up, obviously. Didn't go away. I mean, the game script was there. It was all Lamar, not any Derrick Henry. But to pivot off that and go Justice Hill, 17.8 points is a great call. Because I think most of the time Derrick Henry is the shining star there. Obviously, that's why I was so adamant we should have him as captain. Trey McBride again, 17 points without a touchdown again. This guy every week he just cooks it. I still think Brock Bowers is probably the best tight end in football, but I think there's a very clear top 2, and Trey McBride's in it. Also got Rico Dowdle in there for 14.9 points. And the rest, Rashad White, Keon Coleman, Mike Woods in Cleveland. He must have been the cheapest wide receiver you could get, 2,200. I'm assuming. Give him some points at least, more than Mari Cooper would have got you. So, great call by old Bo Nix.
It's also more than Elijah Moore got us as our Browns wide receiver.
Can't believe I didn't realise he put up a total dud. Yeah, I thought no, and Joku, I thought he'd be a great. Again, he's been getting so many targets in this. Yeah. We've done better than last week, so.
We did. Reminder, Fantasy Game Day, the UK's best and fastest growing NFL daily fantasy game. Even more games to play now. There's an enhanced budget game this week. The guys are offering more and more. So come and get involved. Play daily fantasy with Fantasy Game Day. Use promo code COVER. You'll get a free bonus play after your first entry. Got to be 18 plus, UK only. And of course, please gamble responsibly. Last bit of business for us. Quick check-in on Thursday Night Football. We've already told you the game. It's Chargers, Broncos. The Broncos are 3-point underdogs on the road in LA against the Chargers. Over-under on this one is 42. Chargers this was one of the early season Broncos games where we thought they might not be very good, and the Chargers just kind of bodied them, didn't they, really?
Yeah.
How do we see the return game going in LA?
I like the Broncos +3. I'd have been tempted to take the Broncos straight up. So, if I'm getting plus money on the Broncos, I will take that very happily. Yeah. To be fair, the final score in that game was only 23-16. It was only a touchdown. It felt, I think, like a bigger disparity at the time. Over-under's 42.5. I'd probably lean the under. I kind of worry about Justin Herbert. Obviously, he got banged up in this game. Short turnaround, going up against, this is the 2 best scoring defenses in the NFL. I think we might be looking at a tight game. So for that, yeah, I'll just take the plus money on, or the plus points on Denver and probably the under.
I kind of like the over here as well. There's no Bonix had a bad game last time, but the Chargers defense is breaking down, and the Broncos might be able to score another defensive touchdown with the potential number that low. That's kind of quite big. Joe?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean the Broncos as well. I think it all depends on Herbert's status. It might be good to get in there now. He's currently listed as questionable. I think he probably will play just who Justin Herbert is. But if he's not 100%, then the Broncos at +3 could be a great price. Where I think Pat Surtain was, even though they didn't train today, they had to release an injury report. He was full practice. But they do have, I think Riley Moss is still out and a few of the defensive line questionable as well. So I play, similar to Byron, I play lean under as well, just with the Herbert injury and just the Bo Nix is, I think he's one of the his completion percentage on when he's pressured and all the stats is not great. And I think this Chargers team is going to try and get some pressure on him and try and put him under pressure. I think these 1 and 2 in best scoring defenses, keeping it low. So I'll probably go the under as well and lean the Broncos at +3.
95% of the money, 94% of the bets, 95% of the money is on the over 42. So I'm worried about that. So I should probably stay clear. It's too much early money on that for me. Right. That's the end of our week 15 review. We'll be back with our week 16 preview. That'll drop on Friday. Thanks for joining us. Also, shout out to whoever played Good Teams Win, Great Teams cover in Australia. Shout out. Mate. There's no need for that.
That's affectionate.
It was it. All right.
I bloody love my Aussie friends, mate.
Well, we appreciate you, whoever you are. Make yourself known. Reaching far and wide all over the globe. Good Teams Win, Great Teams.
We're going to have a 10 of Fosters to celebrate, mate.
Right, I'm going to end this now. I'll just turn Byron's mic off. Right, we'll see you for our week 16 preview. Follow us always, Spotify, to be notified new episodes when they drop. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Blue Sky at GTW_GTC.
Have a good one, Skipper.